I'm Dr. Barry, licensed psychologist, and here I share legal and entertainment news from a psychological perspective. Today, we are focusing on entertainment because I need a palate cleanser. It has been a long week, and thankfully, I was able to. So, we're going to save the spoilers, okay? So, save the spoilers for when I get to the spoiler part. So, we will save spoilers for later. And let's first just talk about the premise of the show, Love is Blind. Because in the show, once the couples get engaged, they do meet. And then some of them decide, you're actually not my type, or like there's something off with our connection. And they do end up breaking up. And so I know the show is called Love is Blind, but they do meet face to face. And I think it is problematic when we say that love should be blind. I think people should go into relationships eyes wide open. Now, not hyper vigilant, not looking around every corner of, you know, is this person this or that? I joke with a friend because dating now is I'm so glad. I'm happily married and do not have to be on apps and all that stuff. So I'm 42 and I've been married for the last 11 years. We celebrated 11 years in September. And that was I did try eHarmony and I think it was just eHarmony. I think that was the one. Match.com was a thing. But, and I did not have a good experience there. I do have a friend that met her husband on a dating website, and they're happily married, things are good. I don't think it's how the people meet. I think it's the work that people put into relationships. And I do think that on shows like Love is Blind, that they could provide them with more tools. So you're just kind of watching some of these relationships like just go up in flames and they don't know how to talk to each other. They don't know they seem to be lacking just some skills in how to have a healthy relationship. There seem to be red flags, and, there was a season, because I do have a few couples that I do like, um, but I I saw the next question, and I'm gonna get to it in a second. There were couples that I have liked, that I have rooted for. And there have been some other couples that got married and I was like, "Why?" And no spoilers, but this whole season could have just not. I didn't love any of the couples this season, and we will get to things down the road. Aw, thank you, and I'm still a human, I'm still a person. So do I find myself analyzing the behavior of my partner because of my background in psychology? So I am not his therapist. So I married someone who is emotionally available, who is emotionally mature, who respects therapy and seeking out help and all those things. I wish that we had done more thorough pre-marriage counseling, and I am open if there was ever a season in our relationship where we needed to get marriage therapy, because just because I'm a therapist doesn't mean that I'm like a great wife or I'm like a great person. Because I told y'all, I'm a decent wife. Like I do okay. Nobody's perfect. And my husband's given me feedback I shared it on my last video. There was a time when I was in I had a lot that I needed to talk to a neutral person about, and I needed to get that addressed. There have been times when my partner has had things and I've been supportive of him, but I can't fix him and I don't want to because that's codependent. So I can support him, I can encourage him, I've told him that if he's mad at me, he has to tell me. So, the type of person I am, if he comes home mad, my first thought is, "What did I do?" Mm-mm, nope. Like, my first thought is, "Oh, something happened at work," or, like, I don't if he's huffing and puffing around the house and he has a problem with me, I I do not, like, I do not immediately assume that it's me. And so I've told him that, "Hey, if you have a problem with me, you have to tell me because I'm always gonna assume it's something else. And if I have an issue with you, I'm gonna communicate that and we'll talk about it." Now, something I have to do is I have some like so I have some some daddy wounds and my father, he's a good guy. He's the best provider. Like he is but everybody has their own stuff. And I am so I've mentioned here I was raised by my mom. My parents divorced. My mom filed while she was pregnant with me, and I've lived all of my life with my mom. I've had a connection to my dad all of my life. I've never lived with my dad. And I have two brothers and a sister with my dad and my stepmom. And because of life, because of things, um, yes, things have been things. And with all of that, I've learned a lot about myself. So sometimes my husband will say, so I'm not used to a man telling me what to do. So I don't like anyone telling me. And not that my husband, like if my husband's like, hey, you drop this on the floor, I need you to pick it up. Like it might be like it's nothing, like he's not like he's a good guy. But if he was like, so sometimes I have to check myself of, "Hey, is this me or is this you?" Because sometimes it's me. Because I have triggers, and my triggers are mine. So I have buttons, and sometimes a button gets stepped on. My husband, he is an aerospace engineer. He is brilliant. I am wrong, and he's so gentle with me because I will think I'm right, and I will be very wrong. I am stubborn, and what will sometimes happen is he'll just let me go and research it, and I'll come back and be like, "My bad, that was me. You were right, I was wrong." And so within relationships, I think it's helpful the person is before y'all meet, before y'all get married, the things you know. So there were things I knew about my husband before we get married that I don't that if they bother me now. So I knew my husband, he shuts down everything and just watches basketball during when there are big tournaments, champion with NBA finals, all of that, all of those things. And NBA, I think, is it All-Star weekend is always right around Valentine's Day. So around Valentine's Day. And I loved sports when I was single because I wanted to know sports so that I could hook a guy. So, like, I loved football. I watched so much football and all that stuff before. And now, like, I don't I've been married for 11 years. I wanna listen to Emily D. Baker. So I will sit with him, we'll be watching whatever the game is, and I'm listening to YouTube in my ear. And during halftime, we'll watch, I'll pick a show to watch or something. But, within our relationship, communication has been so key. And I do think it is important to realize people are people and both people have to grow, both people have to work on themselves, both people have to own their own stuff, and I think that's what makes relationships work, and relationships are work. And the beginning is often the best. Now, like, things can but, like, the beginning is often the best. I've seen so many therapists with engineers, like, a lot of therapists. I don't know so engineers are often very analytical, and, smart is sexy to me. Smart, like a smart smart is so sexy. Like, if a guy, if he now, they don't have to go to school because there are other ways to be smart, there are other ways to learn, but, like, we have to be able to have a good intellectual conversation. That was important to me. And within any relationship, being able to give both people permission to be themselves, but then I think both people should become a little bit better. And you often don't marry yourself. So I am an extrovert. My husband is more of an introvert. And he told me early on, he was like, I don't sign me up for mandate for like what is it? It's like play dates. Like, or if I have a friend and her husband, like he doesn't want to be like he doesn't want extra friends. Like, please don't set me up for play dates. I'm a grown man. I wanna stay at home and play video games. So we both have our own individual lives and our own individual selves. And I think it's important within relationships that you come together, but then you also know who you are outside of that. When a person becomes a parent, because children are one of the biggest stressors in a relationship, not because of the child, but just co-parenting and not co, but like parenting and figuring out like who's gonna do what and sometimes gender roles and things can kind of come up. And so being able to communicate, it is extremely toxic to expect your partner to assume like what you need. Now, if your partner can predict what you want, that is amazing. But there are a lot of people that can't do that. And I don't think that should be the expectation. So with my partner, I like our child to be on us to be not like a regimented schedule, but we normally have a general idea of his schedule. And if I'm going out of town, I remind my husband of that schedule. And I remind him of it so that I'm not at a conference or out of town and I'm getting texts and emails about, so what do I feed him for lunch again? Or like what? Like what? So I'm not getting questions like that. I I I'm a big preparer. Like I'm a big make sure we have everything we need, everything's away. And I'm flexible that things can be different, but that's how I manage my own personal anxiety. And so being able to figure out what those things are, that can be that can just be good. But I don't try to make him into somebody that he's not. And that's where I think sometimes people marry people for their potential, for like what they think might be, and not for what actually is. And I do think what actually is important. So back to the show, Love is Blind, because it's not. Like it shouldn't be. But what I mean by love it by it isn't is I do think on the show people have ended up dating people that they might have overlooked in the past. And that maybe they might have not given a chance, and they actually did have a connection. But something that happens in the pods is they only have the sound of their voice and like the tone. So they can just hear the words and tone of voice, but they don't have body language. And body language is important because when we communicate, if somebody rolls their eyes a lot or something, or like the people how people say things, body language is a part of that. And we're gonna probably in about 10 minutes we'll start getting into some of the spoilers. This season, oh, it was hard. It was so hard to watch. It was very hard to watch. But let me just make sure if y'all have general questions about relationships, let me know. I am not a marriage therapist. Marriage therapy is hard. Adults are, and a good marriage therapist stays neutral and doesn't try to be on one person's side or the other. I have had individual clients that maybe have a particular diagnosis, and it's helpful for me to meet with them and their partner to help their partner better understand or to help my client better communicate, effectively, and sometimes me being there was helpful. And so sometimes a partner has come in to maybe 1 to 3 sessions for us to do that. But if they need marriage therapy, that's what happens. Thank you so much. Um, so with Love is Blind, the show. Number 1, I wish they had, like, a therapist that was advising the couples, because I think sometimes people, they wanna make it to the wedding, because I think sometimes we prop up getting married and not necessarily, like, what it really takes to maintain a relationship. And relationships are so hard, and the show moves at a lightning speed. I think it's 4 weeks from time they meet until the time of the weddings, and there's production crews, everybody's filming everything, and then the show, the producers weave a narrative. And things are left on the cutting floor to tell, like, that doesn't fit whatever story the producers want to tell. So I want people to be very careful as you're watching shows like this and you start to hate the villain. So this year's, I think one of the biggest villains this year was Leo, and Leo, like, barely made it out the pods. He has shared a TikTok. Let me see if I can find his. I think there was music in the background, so I won't play it. But I think I can show his picture though. Um, Let me find Leo, uh, because, maybe I think that was his name. Oh, that's his sign. There we go. So Leo was the guy that has he's well off. He's a art what's it? Art, what's the word? He's an art dealer. And he did a TikTok after the show and said the one thing that he wished, or any advice he would give to somebody going on a show like this, is to go to therapy first. Go to therapy first. To me, he came across the show, kind of made it seem like he was pretty shallow and focused on his money, and like, there was the whole drama between him and the other girls. It is highly produced, and Love is Blind has been sued at least once, maybe more than once, because of some of the production stuff. I think the production things have changed because, um, because like, 'cause they used to give them a whole bunch of alcohol, and there used to be a lot of things that happen that you don't see as much anymore. Because there were some times that you could tell people were clearly drunk, like, they were. Because I think somebody said the only thing that was available was alcohol, there wasn't water. I think, complained about food, so they, and I don't know what happened with that lawsuit. I do know the show has been sued before. Um and, I did watch Love is Blind, the UK one. I watched the Habibi one. I like the premise, so I like seeing my drama on TV, but not in my real life. So I like drama, like, and I don't like Real Housewives, or I haven't gotten into that one. I didn't get into Keeping Up with the Kardashians, or what are the TikTokers? I think they had a show. I don't get into that stuff, but for some reason, this relationship, because I like to guess who's gonna get married, and then I have thoughts about if they should or if they shouldn't. And, all right, so the spoilers are coming. For anyone that hasn't seen the show, if you would like to hop off, this will be on your, click watch for later or something. Come back later. We are now getting into spoilers. All right. Everybody that wants to be here is here. Perfect. Ramses, uh, oh, so I'm glad he didn't do it at the altar. So this year, only 2 couples made it to the altar. I think there were 6 or 7 couples that made it to the honeymoon, and then, Leo was not invited to, because you could tell the girl really didn't like him, and she hadn't gotten over what had happened in the pods, and the show probably knew this isn't gonna go well, and they were not invited to the pods, and I don't know that that had ever happened before. But then with Ramses, I think it's important like, there were oh, when they got into their argument over the military, so the individual that he was engaged to, so Ramses was engaged to me and names. I'm getting to it. I have to scroll for a while. Let's see. Y'all can tell me in the chat. What's her name? Who was he engaged to? Yeah, so Leo and I think I just passed her. They were not invited. Was I think Brittany? Is that her name? Yep. I think Leo and Brittany. Marissa. Thank you. So with Marissa, she had prior military service. And I don't know if she'll end up dating the other guy that she had a connection with. He also had prior military. I wish Ramses had communicated his dislike for the military more. Like it seemed like there were deal breakers that they didn't come to until really close to the the election. And then there was body autonomy stuff of like not liking condoms, but also like and she because she didn't want to be on birth control. So are you gonna get a vasectomy? Like what? Or like that was a whole thing. And I think Marissa still would have married him. And I'm glad it didn't work out because I think she could do better. Anybody else feel that way? I felt like she could do better. Marissa was so sweet. I really felt like and I felt like they were trying too hard. Like, it shouldn't be that hard. Like, this is the beginning of a relationship. This is really hard for the beginning of a relationship. Like, it's just it shouldn't be that hard. Normally, the beginning is some of the best times because, so that's where love what are those natural love cycles? They've done it was in sociology class. Love sociology, stages. There are stages of love that they've researched and studied. Um, when you first meet someone, there is this you're in kind of that first honeymoon phase, and it's more of like an infatuation. And you do get a lot of oxytocin. Like it feels good to be liked, to like somebody. That beginning stage, but that love is not deep. That is like that's shallow. But then as you go through these stages, um, because I wanna find the legit one. I wanna say it might be Sternberg. Which one is it? There we go. So from liking to, like, friendship, companion love, that there can be empty love, where it's commitment only, no actual love. There can be romantic love that's passionate. And the goal is to have intimacy, passion, and commitment. That was from Sternberg. So that was a model of love. And there have been other models as well. I think that was that one. I could have read the wrong one because I clicked up another person's name and the same thing came up. I might have been Sternberg. If I didn't, I think I said Sternberg first time. But yeah. So love is so different. And it was It was so hard. It reminded me so I did a video from season 6 about her being worthy. I forgot her name. That's how fast these things go. Um, because my last Love is Blind, season 6, Dr. Barry. My video will come right up. It was Clay. I looked at him and I knew. AD and Clay. Because AD was almost begging him to love her and like, "I can love you through this." And Clay said no, and I was really glad he did because he didn't seem like it was gonna work. Because you don't wanna get married just for, like, the purpose of getting married. That the Clay, that was so bad. Let me share for anyone that doesn't remember, let's share this tab. It was this one. So that's my video. You are worthy. Because that was my video for AD. Like, you deserved better. He ugh, like, that was so bad. Now, we have to talk about Tyler, because I went all the way down that drama rabbit hole. So Tyler, for anyone that hasn't watched the show, there is a guy on the show that made it all the way through the pods without mentioning the fact that he has 3 biological children. And on the show, he seems to provide interesting information that does not line up with the mother of those children with what she says. So here's Tyler. And so he has a really good friend who was engaged to a woman, and he agreed to be there, to help them conceive via donor. And before the child was born or something happened where the relationship between his friend and her wife didn't work out. They end up getting broken up. And because I think the ex-wife, she wonders if the first child was conceived naturally or was it really like donation? Like, she has questions because to according to his his children's mother, okay, so once again, never came up in the pods. And the show shows him and Ashley. So Ashley is the woman that he ended up getting engaged to. They talked about children all the time, the names of their children. They had all these conversations about children. And then all of a sudden it comes up, whoa, he tells her off camera, I think. Hey, just a heads up, I have 3 children. And he never called them sperm babies. That was like so, but the correct term is donor conceived. But only one of them was donor conceived. Ashley, all the way through the wedding, he never tells Ashley that number 1, when he tells her that he was home alone for Christmas, that was a lie. There are pictures. There are pictures, Christmas 2022, him with, I think, 1 or 2 of the children. Like, he's the children, like, you see the children. And I think he tells her the children don't even know what he looks like. He is a very present role in his children's life, and his twins, because he has 3 children, a set of twins, they were conceived naturally. And that wasn't and he agreed to be the parent. Now, the mother's children, she's filed child support, and there are allegations that it could be, I've heard numbers up to, like, that he's at least 30,000 in the arrears. She posted, I think it was just last week, she posted that he hasn't seen his children since before he left for the show. And when he left for the show, he told her, "Everything's gonna be fine, like, I'm so excited about this opportunity." She knew he was going on Love Is Blind and they talked about the kids being in the wedding, all of this, but before he left, he scrubbed his social media of of the children. Now my question, because I think his family is involved in the wedding, it does not come up with anyone about his children, who he before the show was a very active presence, was a very active role. And according to their mother, he has not seen them since September 2023 when he left for the show. And she's now filed child support. Major so Tyler and Ashley make it all the way to the weddings. I was so mad about all of this. I did not watch the wedding episodes, but I watched YouTubers cover it. 'Cause I was so done. Like, this season, I was mad. I was so mad about this season. There are, 2 or 3 YouTubers that I follow. I watch Mickey, so Mickey does live, like, she plays the show. Because of copyright issues, she has to, like, cover you can't like, she streams it and gives live commentary, teaches about relationships. It's very it's very awesome. Um uh, so a lot of people become influencers after being on Love is Blind. So it might affect their business, or they might do speaking engagements, but I think the show, they get paid, but I don't think it's a lot. I think they do get something, and they get a free wedding because I think the show pays for the ring. I think the ring is up to like maybe 2 or $3,000 or something. They get, because one woman, she refused to give it back. I forgot her name. It was light skin, curly hair. She ended up with a different guy. She didn't give the ring back. And if an engagement fails, you're supposed to give the ring back. Just, what's the word? It's like an etiquette thing, that's my understanding. Because the ring is a promise to, like, it's a ask, like, "Hey, will you marry me?" And then if at any point you say no, you're supposed to give the ring back. Like, that's but yeah, it's we're not we're not gonna go there. She she kept the Jackie, yes. It was Jackie. I have watched every season of Love is Blind. I have also watched, all of the offshoots. The Habibi one was a mess. There's a lot of triggers for, like controlling behaviors. There's like, that one is if that one you might wanna give that one a few weeks. Mickey Atkins is the channel. She is a therapist. She also has a podcast. I absolutely adore her channel. She shares really great information. And she talked about the fact that sometimes, um so just because some people get stuck on this is probably gonna be, but I follow sexual orientation and who a person has sex with. So that's where sometimes you have to be specific of like, hey, because some people experiment. So they were in a close, because I don't know that the mother of his children, that she said that they were living together and they were trying to be a family. Oh, and they weren't planning to have the twins. So that means something happened one night, and or one something happened at some point, and yes. I did watch the Brazilian Love is Blind. Are there 2 seasons? I've watched them both. If there are 2 seasons, I have watched them both. I forget some of the names, but I I I have watched them all. I'm not lying. Whoa, wait a minute, Love is Blind Sweden. Do I have that? 'Cause sometimes it releases at a different time in the United States. I don't think I have seen Love is Blind Sweden. I'm going to Netflix right now to see if I have seen Love is Blind Sweden. I'm currently watching Lincoln Lawyer. Uh, Netflix and YouTube are how I, cope. I'm typing Netflix into Netflix. I'm so special. Love is Blind, Sweden. Wait a minute. It's on my list. I don't think I've seen it. Okay, I will have to watch Love is Blind, Sweden. It does not look like I have watched it. Yay! Thank you for recommending this one. Wow. So I have a new show. Because Lincoln Lawyer was starting to get more intense, and I don't know that I'm in a place to watch that one. I would love to know your thoughts. As a Muslim woman, I found it quite entertaining. Some women accept it, not in a negative way. The men do pay the cost to be the boss. Oh, some women are okay. Um, uh, uh, the Love is Blind, Habibi, they did not live together, and I think they might have had separate hotel rooms. for the honeymoon. There were certain customs, and with meeting the families, I think for a lot of them, even though they were engaged, like, there were some cultural things that were observed with Love Is Blind Habibi. I am enjoying Lincoln Lawyer. Um, yes, 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 I am. Uh, yes, so it's a new one. I think it came out 2 weeks ago, maybe, but it is, think it might have been filmed in, I wanna say Saudi Arabia? I might be getting my it's a, so Habibi, I believe, is that husband? What does that mean in Arabic? Beloved. So Habibi is beloved, my dear, or my darling. So that is Arabic, and so that it is filmed Dubai. Thank you. Thank you. And there were certain cultural things that they observed for, but I found a few of them toxic. There was a little toxicity, I thought. I thought there was a little bit. But for this season, going back to Tyler and Ashley, because she said yes. Y'all, she said yes. And she can be, because they're married, he is $30,000 in the, or that's what's being reported. If he's in child support debt, that means they're like his debt can become her debt. And I hope that he told her the truth off camera. I hope that someone knew something. So there was a female on Love Is Blind Habibi, um, and then there was a male. Like there were, it was just there were a few situations that I thought were a little interesting. And she might stay. She might. That would have been a been that would have been a major break in my relationship. I think trust is so important. And there are other women that have alleged that he lied about having children to them. I don't know if any of that's true. Like I don't know if any of that part's true. Uh Brazil was very sexual. Yes, Love's Line Brazil was very, very, yes, was very sexual. I thought some of the conversations, but some countries are more comfortable talking about sex, and they played that on the show. Um, I think it's funny because sometimes for Love Is Blind, everybody looks great, but not like everybody looks great. Mm. Um, that would have been, I don't, if I found out that my husband, but I would have done a background check. Okay. We've talked about my relationship. If my husband did ever get on stream with me, he would probably want me to talk about the file that I had on him, because I talked about being on eHarmony, and when I was that was a time in my life I did not have internet. I didn't have internet at home. I was very, I was underemployed. I was barely making, ends meet. My husband was aware that I was $200,000 in debt, 170,000, or maybe so most of that was student loan debt, but I did have some credit card debt. I was an investigator. Ooh, hopefully he doesn't follow me. So I met a guy salsa dancing, and it was fine. It was fine. We went salsa dancing, and we had plans to meet up in a few weeks. I Googled him when I got, because I met him while I was out. So like I didn't plan to meet with him. I met him while I was out. He had mentioned, "Oh, yeah, I have," I think he had 2 kids, something like that. I forget how many kids he had, and I knew he had an ex. And I was like, "Okay, whatever." And we had plans to meet up at another time. Not necessarily date, but, like, we had plans to meet up. I Googled him, and a news article popped up where him and his ex had been in a domestic situation, and there were allegations of drugs and DV, and I was like, "Oh god." I'm like, "Oh, no." It was that was a huge red flag. I messaged him to be like, "Hey, you know what? I'm not in a space to get up and meet together." I was like I was like I was like, I lied, y'all." But, like, sometimes for women, when you, because I wasn't sure if he was, according to the allegation, I wasn't sure if he was safe. So, like, the allegation was bad, and I don't know if it was true, but even if it, like, but that was, they he still has to co-parent with her, and I was like, "No." I ran for the hills, and I said, "I'm not, I thought I was in a place to, meet up and get together, but, like, I'm not, and, like, if I see you, I see you, but if I don't, like, I'm not gonna call." He was kinda like "We're never gonna talk again." That's pretty much what it was. And then when I was online, I would screenshot people's profiles. And this one guy that we were kind of communicating back and forth online, one day I went to his profile and it was like, if you it was this message to women. It was like this message to women of, if you aren't serious, if you're all about blah blah, like, it was a rant, like, on his profile, that where we had been communicating, there was this whole, he changed his profile, and that was a huge red flag for me. So I messaged him to be like, "Hey, you changed your profile? I don't know what happened. I don't need to know, but, like, no thanks." And I, like, yeah. I ended up meeting my husband shortly after that because it was wild out there. And my husband and I were actually set up. So I don't mind the idea of, uh, like, Love is Blind, of, let's get 2 people together that might have never crossed paths, that might live in the same city, but for whatever reason, they would have never met. My husband is 3 years younger than me. I've mentioned this before. I met him in, so how old was I in 2009? Like, okay. So we were, because I was done with grad school. I had just gotten licensed in September. I met him later that same year, and I just, when we ended up, um and so we were kind of set up. His cousin went to my church, and my mom, so they both kinda connected of like, "Hey, I think these 2 people might be a good match." But when we met, it was kind of up to us of, "Okay, is this a good fit or not?" And it was. If I had met him at Virginia Tech when he was a freshman and I was a senior, I'm pretty sure I've said this before, and I've told him to his face, I would have, and if he had tried to talk to me, I would have been like, "You're a freshman aerospace engineer? Talk to me in 4 years." Like, nope. I wouldn't have given him the time of day, because my senior year, there was a freshman that, like, thought I was really pretty and wanted to talk to me, and I was like, "Dude, you are 18 years, no. No, no. You you are a freshman in college. No, sir. No, you get your stuff together. I'm a senior. I'm leaving. I'm moving to Virginia Beach." 'Cause that's I ended up going to graduate school in Virginia Beach, and so I wouldn't have given them the time of day. So I get the premise of the show, but I think there's a lot of external motivation to try to get married, and I think that can be problematic. I think it can be problematic. I love Oprah saying, when people show you, so, and it wasn't Oprah. Oprah wasn't the first one to say it. I wanna say it was it Maya Angelou? I think it was a poem. I think it was Maya Angelou was the first one that said it. Um, oh, yeah, Lisa, if so Nightbot, if you do more than 3 emojis, so only 2 emojis. Nightbot, Nightbot doesn't like more than 3 emojis. Yes, Maya Angelou was the first one that said that, and it's so important because I think sometimes people are like, They're not believing their eyes, and that's why I don't love the, like, Love Is Blind because it's almost like, "Oh, you should go in with no expectations." No, please have expectations, just make sure that they're reasonable, and so I had certain non-negotiables. With my partner, we've communicated what our boundaries are, and there have been times when we've had to, like, talk and because the way things are before kids is different than after. There have been times when we've had to communicate. Yeah, no problems, no problems. I might have said it wrong. Maya Angelou. I might have said it wrong. Um, but season 7 was trash. So, the other couple that got married, I don't have, like, any, I don't even remember their names. Um, season 7, uh, yes, it was Garrett and Taylor. They got married too, very sweet. They look pretty. It was a whole thing. Um, I have to share my screen at the stage. It was nice. And then they said yes, very beautiful. And then I wish them the best. I do. I think they have some stuff to work out, and that'll be between them. And maybe the show gives them like free therapy. I hope. I hope. I hope. But mm, there would be an issue for me, but that's me. Ah, I used to watch Married at First Sight, and think I I think some people go on the show knowing they're gonna say no, but they just wanna become an influencer. And a lot of people are kind of speculating if some of the people that said no, if they really had true intentions, true motives. So I felt that way. I forget the guy's name. The guy that got mad at the girl for falling asleep. We're gonna know who I'm talking about. Y'all know who I'm talking about. The one who got mad at her for falling asleep. They should have broke up when they had that incident on the honeymoon, whatever happened off camera. Because to me, their connection was never the same after that. Tell me in the chat. What were he got mad at her for falling asleep. Like, I I was not a fan of his, and I think when he broke up with her, it seemed like he wanted her to be more upset, and she was like, "Yeah, whatever." Like, she was like, "I fell asleep." Like, she's like, "I was tired. Nobody was mad. Like, why are you upset about this?" Like, they were not a good match. Not a good match at all. Alex and Tim, thank you. Thank you, thank you. Um, and I was not shocked at all. I'm gonna share a picture for anyone that missed it. I was not because from their connection seemed it seemed weird, but and that's the edited version. So this is what we saw. This is what we saw when the cameras were there. But for him to break up with her, and once I'm glad that he did it because she might have went all the way to the altar. And his whole thing to her dad, ugh, and so sometimes I fast forward. So Lisa, I'll be honest. When I watch Love Is Blind, I watch it on 1 point what can I do on Netflix? Whatever the fastest speed, I watch it. Maybe 1.25, 1.5. I watch it sped up because the pods, it goes and they play the music. And so I watch it a little sped up. And then sometimes I fast forward through stuff as stuff starts getting bored. Hey, okay, so 1.5. I do. I watch it sped up. And I was glad, but the way he did it, it seemed like he wanted her to, like, cry, and this was his big thing, and he had to go, like, put on his shoes to leave, and they aired all of that on the show. Like, they recorded him. like like, putting his shoes on, and she's just sitting there like she's about to go take another nap. Yay, you watch it at the same speed because it's just but I wanna see what's gonna happen because 'cause I'm super nosy. I wanna know. It's like, "What?" I was I was not a fan of Tim, and Alex can do better. Alex can do better. My favorite TV psychologist, definitely not Dr. Phil. I'm not a fan at all. His whole, like so for all of his TV career, I don't know that he's ever held a license. He does have a doctorate in psychology. I don't know and he might have been I don't know that he was ever and if he ever was licensed, he didn't once he became a TV psychologist, he's not a licensed psychologist. And so when people are on the show, the Dr. Phil show, it's for education and entertainment. He's not doing therapy. And they get real therapy and treatment after. Not real, but like, you know what I mean? He ended up, giving up his license to become a because you can't be a TV psychologist and because you can't do therapy in front of everybody. And so, unless your client signs all types of waivers, it's a huge risk. It's a huge, huge risk. Oh, not a real like a TV psychologist. A lot of them get it wrong. I'm very critical of TV psychologists. So the ones that end up sleeping with their client or, like, their client's wife, I get mad at those, or the ones that, are super shady. Let me know y'all's favorite. Who's your favorite? So, Lisa, let me know your favorite TV psychologist. I had one, and I forgot who it is. Um, I'm pretty sure that I've had one, because there have been shows that have done it well. Something that I would like to do is be like a consultant for psychology on a show. I would love to do that because that would be fun in my mind. Um, let me see if I have anything in the entertainment. Let me see. I'm trying to see if I've said it before. In the Baby Reindeer series, no, but she I liked um in the show, Donnie's girlfriend who was a psychologist. She was giving him good tips, but it almost kinda went too far. But too far in that she wanted to, like, try to help the person, which that wasn't gonna be helpful. Mm, yeah. I don't know that I'll have to get back to you to see who my favorite ooh, the Tony Sopranos one. So I used to watch Frasier back in the day before I even knew I wanted to be a therapist. They didn't focus on the therapy part, they just focused on his relationship with his, like, family and all of that, or if they did, they didn't really do it all that much, but I'll have to think about it. Love is Blind, season 7, I was not a fan. I did watch all the way up until the weddings, and it was those 2, and I was just like, I I got disinterested. I did watch the YouTube recaps though, because I wanted to know what happened. Because I was hoping and praying, just let everybody say no. It was just like, because there have been a lot of, like, Love is Blind divorces. I also remember the one, The Bachelorette divorce where she might have to owe him alimony. Like, it was a lot. I think it's Rachel Lindsay. I think it was that one. The messy one? Yes, it was this one. Because, going into it, she made a lot more money than he did, and now she might owe him some ridiculous amount. Oh, no. There we go. She might owe him some some ridiculous amount of alimony. And I don't even know how long they were married, but, like, she might have to pay him alimony after they went on a show. She kinda like, they got married, it didn't work out, so that's where prenup, if you ever go on a reality show and get married, prenup. If you have a bunch of resources, if there's a major discrepancy, prenup. Hannah, I thought she could be mean, but then when he would kinda try to play with her back, she didn't like it. She came off kind of immature to me. I don't know what she'll say at the reunion. I'd because you get to see things played back and you get to see the edit, and every show there has to be like a mean girl, like there has to be a guy villain and a girl villain. And in the show, I think she was the girl villain. Now, these things happened, but the time she was kind to him, maybe that wasn't what was kept on there. He also seemed to be clear that he didn't want her talking about their sex life on camera, and she did anyway. Like, there were mics, she's talking with the girls about, and she was kinda claiming that he was immature, but I she came off immature to me as well. I'm glad it didn't work out. I'm just glad it did not work out. Ah, yay! And, so my mom, I am her only child, and if she got married, I would want her to do a prenup to make sure that, like, not just in divorce, but also, like, a living will situation to make sure, God forbid, if something happened to her first, that it's not on her husband to, like, make sure that my inheritance is not that, like, I just wanna make sure, 'cause I don't want there to be issues down the road, or, if something if it yeah, I'm really that's a big thing to me. If there had been a large discrepancy for me and my husband going into our relationship, I would have been open to signing a prenup, because a lot of people are they feel like a prenup means you're planning for the relationship to end, and I just feel like, "Hey, just, like, if you want to walk away, I want to know, like, we have a we've already agreed to what it's gonna be." And sometimes in prenups, they'll write in if there's infidelity that the prenup is void, if they're like, sometimes they can have reasons for a prenup to not be that. Um, FYI, your spouse can cheat and have an outside child, depending on what state you live in, you could be financially responsible for that child. Ooh, and in Virginia, so if for some reason in Virginia, if a couple is married, whatever child the wife has, the husband automatically goes on the birth certificate. Like, that is a Virginia thing. I think I missed, Legal Minded. I think I saw that show. I forget Dr. Linda. I forgot that one. I like so we have a good chat in here because there's some people that don't like prenups. So a prenup feels respectful. In practice, dealing with situations legally where there are prenups, there is so much less chaos. Exactly, where we've already agreed. Like, hey, if for some reason, like we've already discussed, because divorces get messy, 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 messy. And Virginia is half. If there is no, I think California is half. Virginia is a big, like, common property, common and Virginia is very liberal to women sometimes, like, often. Like, Virginia is a big, and not all, because I've worked with some women in Virginia that had to pay alimony, um, or yeah, that had to pay alimony or, like, more child support if they made more, especially if there's 50/50 custody. But, like, I love all of this. Yes, and you can also do a postnuptial agreement as well. You can do a prenup or a postnuptial agreement. I'm not the lawyer. Karen is the lawyer in the chat. As a man, if you got A married woman pregnant, you don't have rights, yes. So you wouldn't have to pay child support to that person so in Virginia, at least, if, now there would have to be, paternity would have to be done for the child and all of that in Virginia if the father tried to get off the birth certificate. Like, if a father found out that a child wasn't his, like a husband, if a husband found out that a child wasn't his, there would be a whole process in Virginia. And sometimes judges would be like, "Hey, y'all were married. You this child's always called you dad. I know biologically you're not, but some judges get weird about that stuff." Monica and Steven, and maybe they were just that. Monica and y'all know me. Oh, sorry. It's not funny. I'm glad they didn't I'm glad they didn't work out either. Oh. Oh, like, okay. I thought that anybody else see red flags with that one before they broke up? Like, before they broke up, it just it didn't seem like it was gonna be right. It just I wasn't a fan of them before they broke up. That's where I was like the whole season. Like, this was an odd season for me where I was just like, just from after the pods, I was just like, "Let's just trash this whole season." Just this whole season. Normally, it's like it's developed over time. This was like from the start, I was just like, "Ooh," and this was DC. I live in Northern Virginia. Like, this is my area. So, like, oh. So, I'm glad that she stood up for herself. I'm glad that, I don't believe he was getting a sleep study. It's not funny. Like, why can't I stop laughing? Sleep study. Dude, he was a bad liar. He was such a bad liar. I got drunk before a sleep study. These are the tears I didn't let out for Sarah Boone's case. Oh my gosh, like, a sleep who does that? You so alcohol affects sleep. You can't a sleep if you show up drunk for a sleep study, they're gonna send you home. There's not a sleep study in the world. That study is gonna be invalid. Alcohol affects sleep. Alcohol affects sleep. Like they would send you home. You show up drunk for a sleep study? Like, he was with somebody else. Like, he it reminded every year there's a liar, though. Like, why does this happen every year? I don't think it was somebody else on the show, though, because in past seasons, it's been, like, somebody from the show. I think it was, like, an ex or something. Correct me in the chat if I'm wrong. I thought it was, like, like, it wasn't somebody from the show, because before, last time, it was somebody from the he stayed at last season, the guy just went and they just talked all night. With somebody that you're attracted to, and you have a whole fiance, you and her, your other love interest from the pods, y'all just talked all night. No, 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 no. It's a lie. You shouldn't don't lie. Like, dude, you've been caught. And I think they've actually hired, like, a former couple to do some of the casting. But for casting, you wouldn't know if somebody like, doesn't have good it would be hard to suss out if somebody has bad intentions or not. It could be hard, um, because they might have made it to the altar, but their dynamic seemed con excuse me, confrontational, but in a different way from Hannah. Like, he's so I don't think he liked conflict, and I think he just wanted to be married, but Like, he didn't wanna be married. Like, he wanted to be married, but, like or he wanted to be on the show, but do you really wanna get married to her? And do her a solid if you don't wanna get married to her, which isn't a problem. She was a great like, there was nothing wrong with her. They didn't seem like a good match. And then he lied, like a dumb lie. It wasn't a good lie, in my opinion. It wasn't a good lie. It wasn't good. It wasn't good. And so Sex and the City. I didn't watch it when I was young. I didn't watch it, when it first came out, I don't think. Yeah. I watched some of the spinoffs, I think. The shows I watched were, like, Girlfriends and, Living Single. Those were some of the shows I watched, but if my husband I would've I would've laughed all the way to a divorce like, sleep study? Like, you're such a what? Sleep study. You serious? S You showed up and, uh, to a sleep study? It doesn't make sense, it's not true, it's just not true, and so it's so wrong, but I've had fun hanging out with you all. Get some rest, drink some water, take care of yourself. I will see you all in the next video. Tuesday, we are probably going to cover, um, Sherry Frankie's statement about um, children in, child influencers. I think she gave a really powerful statement, and I wanna cover it, and I hope y'all enjoy the rest of your weekend too.